welcome back. Fitness in a time of pandemic is a difficult thing to master. It is even more difficult when you're one of the world's elite athletes. Kirstie James races. She's a track cyclist for the New Zealand national team and was in the midst of training for the 2020 Olympic Games in Tokyo when the Olympics were postponed for a year. And she joins us now all the way from New Zealand. Kirstie, good morning to you in New Zealand, and welcome to Face the Issues.
Hi, thanks so much for having me. It's really cool to be on your show.
Yeah, well, my pleasure. It's good to see you. I see you're doing well and obviously grateful for that. First, before we even jump into the cycling, how are things in New Zealand with the COVID-19 pandemic?
Yeah, so we have been in a state of lockdown for the past nearly 6 weeks. So New Zealand announced a 4-level alert system, 1 being the lowest level of alert and 4 being the highest. And so we closed our borders and went into alert level 4 after we had just a handful of cases. And we seem to have done really well at trying to stamp out the virus. And we're hoping to go, we're in level 3 currently, and we're hoping to go down to level 2 next week, which means that more non-essential businesses can reopen, things like gyms and cinemas. And it also means that I can train with my teammates again. So we're really looking forward to it.
Well, we hope then we join you in hoping for that. Speaking of training with your teammates, let me ask you this. You were in the middle of training for the 2020 Olympic Games in Tokyo. I met you a few years ago when you were in the States racing, and then you were talking about this goal. What was it like? What was your reaction when you heard the news that they were postponing the Olympic Games?
I think as the pandemic was escalating, we all had a feeling that the Olympics might not go ahead. But we were still kind of training full steam ahead in the hope that things might settle down and that the show would go on, I guess. So when the announcement came, it was kind of just a sobering realization to how bad the pandemic currently is and what the projections might be. So I think all of us were pretty upset with the news, but definitely understood why it needed to happen in terms of what was happening around the world.
Sure. And how does that shift your training schedule, Kirstie? I mean, obviously you train for a major event like the Olympics. There's a timetable that I imagine that timetable gets thrown off now.
Yeah, definitely. We had a really specific path that we were on track for, and we were meeting our targets along the way. And so when we heard the announcement of the postponement, I guess personally I felt pretty lost, not only because the Olympics had moved, but also a lot of other parts of my life that I was looking forward to were in the unknown category as well. Like I wanted to finish my master's and start my psychology registration. And we also wanted to go and visit my husband's family who live in Zambia and think about starting a family and a whole lot of things like that. So I guess personally, I took the postponement news pretty hard and really struggled in a place of not really knowing what to do for the first couple weeks until we had some really good regrouping as a team and started to set some little short-term goals moving forward and just, I guess, reassess where we're at and took the opportunity to see it as another chance to continue the cool journey that we get to be on together as a team.
Yeah, that's a great perspective. I think so many people forget that our athletes, we see them on TV, but they're people, they're humans, just like the rest of us. And you have a life that you're living and dreams and goals, and everything kind of gets put off when one big event like the Olympics gets postponed. So I appreciate you sharing that perspective. Kirstie, let me ask you this. We talk a lot about the challenges. You have been in lockdown in New Zealand. Most of the United States is in lockdown or some form of quarantine. And there's a lot of people who are complaining about the gyms are closed and I can't work out and I can't do this. How have you been able to stay healthy and stay fit while you're in lockdown?
Well, I guess for us as track cyclists, the main drawback is that we can't be on the track training with our teammates. However, we do spend a lot of the year racing on the road anyway. So we've taken this lockdown as just a time to really train locally in our area. And I've also signed up for this basically cycling video game called Zwift, where you put your bike on a power trainer, it measures your power, and you compete against other cyclists who are doing the same thing from all over the world, which has been really cool. I'm not usually a huge fan of the indoor trainer, but that's made it a lot more exciting. So I've also set up some home gym equipment and been doing 2 or 3 home gym workouts a week, which has also been really good to be able to keep the strength training going. So I guess in relation to other sports, we're pretty lucky. We can do probably 90% of our training, whereas one of my friends is a springboard diver, and yeah, she has to be pretty creative to try and practice for that, I guess. So we're on the
Yeah, I
lucky.
can't imagine there are many places you can train at home for diving.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, that's how Kirstie, how difficult is it? I mean, obviously you want to be back on the track, you want to be back with your teammates. How difficult has it been to have to train alone at home? Is there a mental toll to this? How are you working through some of those things?
Yeah, I think, I mean, I've been an athlete full time for probably about 12 years. I've never really struggled with motivation. But when the news of the postponement came through, I had a really rough patch with motivation. I didn't really know what I was training for. The goals are really unclear. And I didn't appreciate for how much of a toll that took on my body. I had to reduce all of my goals and try and just get through some sessions rather than achieve specific targets. So I think I knew academically that stress and worry takes a toll on you physically, but I guess when you experience it firsthand like that, you realize how much your body suffers when you're under a lot of stress. So it was definitely really rough for the first couple of weeks until I did some processing with our psychology team and my coach and set new goals and things like that. So,
Kirstie, real quick, few seconds here. How excited are you now for 2021?
yeah, I think it's actually the only event that we've got coming up on the calendar. So we're really excited to represent New Zealand, and we're really hopeful that the 2021 Olympics will go ahead. Really looking forward.
Well, same here. Kirstie, thank you for joining us, and best of luck to you. Obviously, my loyalties are with the United States, but for track cycling, I will be cheering for New Zealand, and especially for you. I can't say more. I can't say enough about just how great of a friend you've been, and wishing you all the best in Tokyo.
Thanks so much.